Hello everyone, welcome to New Gen Politics. An ongoing national police shortage has left metropolitan cities, as well as America's small towns, without enough officers, and some police departments have shuttered completely amid record low officer morale and dismal recruitment. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notifications bell so you can keep up with daily content. So what's happening here? Well, I'm going to pull information from this Fox News article called Police Shortages Reported Nationwide Amid Record Low Morale and Recruitment. And we're starting to see more and more effects, more drastic effects, from the results of the George Floyd riots and subsequent riots and police treatment since then. In this article, a former homicide detective and Fox News contributor named Ted Williams gives a lot of insight into what's happening in police departments, both in big cities and in small towns. According to him, quote, "When you look at what is happening in America, you have a twofold scenario taking place when it comes to law enforcement officers. The first thing is that law enforcement officers feel that they are very much disrespected and that the work they do, that they are not appreciated." And this is very much the case. People don't respect police anymore. We've had all these calls to defund the police, to remove them. And I'm not going to say that there's not problems with policing. There absolutely are problems with modern police in America and things that should be addressed, but they should be addressed in the right ways. And that way is not to remove the police, because then you end up with a power vacuum. And what that is you're taking a crucial piece of society that is applicable to all countries, all cultures around the world through all of human history. There's always been the concept of justice and rightful payment, in a sense, for committing crimes. And the state would organize a group of people who would be responsible for that lawful judgment. That includes police, that includes lawyers, that includes corrections officers. And so when you remove a piece of that puzzle, we're not above our animalistic instincts. We're not above the necessity for this part of our society. We need police. We need somebody to enforce the laws and to punish criminals when they're not following those laws. And so when you completely remove the police, criminals are basically allowed to do whatever they want, which is increasing the amount of crime that these police officers have to deal with. The amount of belligerence, the amount of resisting, those have all increased. But then also, they're getting hit top down by their government, who is willing to sell them out as soon as they make a mistake, or as soon as something a police officer does is bad optics. Even if it's not illegal, they'll still be thrown under the bus. So it's hard to exist in a system when the people you serve disrespect you, and the people you serve under also disrespect you. And not only disrespect you, but a lot of times have an ire for you and want to totally remove you. They want to find a way to get you, to arrest you, to prosecute you, to unemploy you. So no wonder police are anxious all the time, and they're very unsatisfied with their current treatment on all ends of the spectrum. Last year, officer retirements increased by 19%, and resignations by 47%, and that's when compared to 2019. And this isn't sustainable because they're not recruiting new people. Quote, "The end game is a reduction in service for the hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying public, or lowering hiring standards to more people, which will ultimately end in disaster." So they're not hiring as many people because people don't want to be police officers. And they need to fill that power vacuum, like they need to have police officers, so they have to lower the requirements. And then you get worse police officers. Less well-trained because you're defunding their training, maybe less physically fit, maybe more prone to violence, who knows? But they're less qualified candidates overall, and that's negatively affecting the image of police. You're in this negative feedback loop that we've kind of created and made the self-fulfilling prophecy of police are bad, so let's do things that ostensibly make policing worse, both for the police officers and for the citizens. And the solution to try and get more police, a lot of big cities have decided to pay them more, which you'd think on the surface would be a good idea, but the problem is you're not getting more recruits in. So bigger cities are just encouraging police from small towns to move to big cities for higher pay. And so when these big cities offer higher pay and greater incentives, small towns can't afford to match that, and as a result, the small towns are not able to retain their police forces, oftentimes doubling up between 2 or more towns to have one functioning police department. And that puts a strain on the officers, and it lowers the safety and security of the people in those areas. And police do a lot more than just arrest criminals. They're part of the public service. They do a lot of things behind the scenes that people take for granted or don't even know that they participate in. And I think this unwillingness to serve is really kind of coming to a head because people are finding it tough. They were able to put up with it for a while, but after a long time of being told that you're the bad guy, even by the people who employ you, it's very hard to maintain a positive attitude. Quote, "What we found around the country in all these police departments is that there's no longer that willingness to serve and protect, and that becomes very unfortunate." And for many officers, the final straw is the realization that something that they do on duty, despite the fact that it may be legitimate, could result in criminal prosecution. To come up under criminal charges for doing his job, that's very demoralizing. And yeah, we've seen this happen. The weaponization of the Justice Department has been used to go after police officers. People deemed to have done things that basically are just negative optics, even if they're legitimate practices. And they're basically sacrificial lambs on the altar of progressiveness. And why would you want to work in an occupation where already you're risking your life every day, and then you're never thanked for it, and you can give everything, you can sacrifice, you can serve, and at the drop of a hat, the people who employ you, who are supposed to defend you and look after you, will throw you under the bus immediately to make themselves look good, to detach themselves from any actions they find visually reprehensible. And I have 3 close friends who are police officers, and I know 3 more who are in training right now. And I know how hard they work and how much they care. And they really care. They want to protect the people of this country. They want to protect the people in their communities. And knowing full well what they're getting into as police officers, they still chose that path. And so even for that, a lot of modern police officers, there's a level of respect that should be given there. That they're willing to walk into an occupation filled with constant persecution, all for the sake of other people. Because it's certainly not for the pay, and it's certainly not for the benefits. It's because these people, these officers, feel like they have a duty to this country. And it's hard to see them persecuted and belittled for trying to do the right thing. So no wonder there's this huge rise in demoralization. And this is bad because, like I said at the beginning of the video, the removing of policing creates a power vacuum. And I've said it before and I will say it again. Police do 2 things. They protect you from criminals, and they protect you from people trying to take the law into their own hands. And we can see an example of this when you look at South Africa. South Africa has had skyrocketing crime, police departments disappear overnight, and the state police won't defend certain areas, specifically the white areas. And so you'll have residential areas that hire private police forces. And in reality, these private police forces are basically mercenaries. And if someone tries to cause crime in one of these private neighborhoods, the criminal isn't arrested. They just disappear. And they're probably buried somewhere in the desert, because that's what's happening. And when you can't expect your Justice Department to defend you physically and also to defend your rights, you take matters into your own hands. That's the only option you have left. And that just creates more and more problems, because now you have people who are unbeholden to any government, that are functioning as vigilantes, doing whatever they want. And that's the future America's headed towards. You're already seeing that now in England. You're getting roving gangs of vigilantes. We've started to see it in more European countries. And that's the future where America's headed. You remove the police, you treat them like garbage, and then you're left with a power vacuum that nature demands be filled. And that will be filled with more criminals and more people like this guy. And now that you've heard what I think, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.